it's gonna be a blowout. And then the rain came. Stopped watching the third quarter. One did score.
I understand. It's kind of like they didn't show up. It reminded me of how I felt.
Do you know the
Such a
fire
bad
department was not legally,
Did you see any?
did not follow correct building ordinances?
What?
Did you know the building of the fire department did not follow correct legal
I didn't know we had that distinction back in the 80s. Give us that distinction of most voting.
Hold it up. All right, so I'm just,
Listen,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
It'll go out all
We
over
don't
the
want it to
airwaves.
go out until the executive session.
Until 7 o'clock.
You never know.
The historical. But I remember, right. Yeah. We just had the question. Fire was awesome.
I have a picture of he was like a child, my oldest son.
I know. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I will. I didn't have that in there, but.
I need to remind myself.
Right. Well, it's nice that it's also Styrofoam Collection Day, so people will be there. Yeah.
I have a neighbor that takes sheep.
I mean, yeah.
Thanks, Nicole.
I just thought of it myself. I'm putting it on my calendar.
I usually try to look ahead, but I didn't today, so.
No problem.
Right. The ticking of the clock slows down as we approach 7.
I never knew a minute lasted so long. Right?
Is it 7? Okay. Everybody ready? Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Calling to order the regular meeting of your Village Board of Trustees. To honor our nation's hero, today is National First Responders Day, so this is a special day to commemorate our heroes, our local heroes, including the members of the police department, the men and women of the fire department and EMS services, as well as our LTAC members. Please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before we get to our agenda items, I do have sad news to report. Former village trustee Bob Burris passed away suddenly last week. He was 80 years old, and he was a true public servant, always interested in the affairs of the village. not only when he was a trustee from 2003 to 2007, but then he was involved at the caucus party ever since. So if we could just have a brief moment of silence in respect for Bob and, of course, his family that survives. Thank you. Clerk Horvath, may we have the roll call, please?
Yes, Madam President. Trustee Chen.
Here.
Trustee Fink.
Here.
Trustee John.
Here.
Trustee Rudolph.
Here.
Trustee Sifferman.
Here.
And Trustee Terrell.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Having read the agenda, does any trustee have an addition or deletion to tonight's agenda? Hearing none, we'll move on to citizen comments. This is when we open up the floor to our residents and the public to address the board. If anyone wishes to address the board this evening, we request that you keep your comments limited to 3 minutes so everyone has an opportunity to speak. Yes, sir. Welcome.
Thank you.
Please state your name.
Jack Wheelahan, Wheelihan, 1000 Longmeadow Lane.
Thank you.
Obviously, the subject of the flooding Saturday night is going to come up if it hasn't already. We've lived at the same spot for 30 years and 5 months, and I've watched it develop over that 30 years. It never used to do this until there was the condominiums and the Wilson building, which have compounded the situation. However, something has changed in the last year or two. As on behalf of one of our neighbors in the cul-de-sac, they've spent literally tens of thousands of dollars on their basement with plumbing and rerouting and this and that and the other. And they have not had water in their house until Saturday night. They got 2.5 inches in the basement. Now, we've had this flood a number of times in the last 5 years, but something was different Saturday night. Watching it, it went longer than any time I've ever seen it in 30 years. It had to be almost 2 hours with it about 8 to 12 inches deep going down Longmeadow Lane. Now, where this comes from is the Highlands. The water comes, there's a drainage ditch, pretty good size, which the county has been working on the last year, year and a half. I think that may lead the village to investigate this further. I've seen a lot of work go on, but it goes underneath Wolf Road and goes into where that office building and then the southeast portion of the condominiums. If you go in the condominiums, there's massive spillways, all beautifully grassed and landscaped. I mean, it's really nice. But then it comes out to that retention pond that's out on 55th. And there's an overflow spillway on that pond, which is very difficult to see when you drive in. It's under the road, and it exits to the Wilson Building parking lot. So about 2/3 of the water goes into the Wilson Building parking lot, which promptly floods the fire station. The other third goes down 55th Street. And it's like the Mississippi River going down 55th Street. It's one thing in the daytime, but at night, when the eastbound cars, they have no idea that there's 6 to 8 inches of water on 55th Street. And it's quite interesting to see. But something was different this time. The weather forecast wise, what did we get? 2.5 inches of rain? You know, I've seen this erupt like this with 10, 12, 13 inches of rain in 12 hours. And it's really something. Paired to insignificance Saturday night. It was amazing. Where did all that water come from? Certainly not Western Springs. And it just kept going. Now, there's all kinds of homes west on either Longmeadow or Birch that probably have water in their basements that are maybe new residents the last 5, 6 years, have no clue what goes on an annual basis. And I believe this is the second time that it has flooded this year. Third. Okay, I'll give you that. But none of them were like this. It was, I mean, truly astounding.
Right.
And we're right there on the corner. We see it come out of the parking lot from the fire station, turn the corner. It tries to go south on Grand, but it can't because that's uphill. So it turns and goes down Longmeadow. Some of it tries to come into the cul-de-sac on Longmeadow, but it only gets in there about 8 or 10 feet. That's, again, uphill and continues right on down. I mean, obviously, it has to get to the tollway where Flag Creek is. But the part that goes out on 55th Street, I'm sure that that's where the 2 of the 4 neighbors that are behind us in the cul-de-sac, the Emmicks, the drying truck from Chicago Water, whatever it is, they're there the second night tonight. They were there 8, 9 hours yesterday, and they've been there 5, 6 hours already. Heaven only knows how much water they got in their basement. But their back of their house faces 55th Street. But that rush down 55th Street, then when it gets to Woodland, it can't go much further on 55th because it's going up to the tollway bridge. It turns slightly south and comes into the Ridgewood section there and goes down either the grass swale as far as it can get, but primarily it goes down, I believe it's Birch, and then Longmeadow, all the way down to Tollway. But my point is, something's changed. Something's different than the last 30 years. And I think the village finally needs to really get involved and find out what Highlands is doing to us, what Cook County's doing to us,
We'll look into that.
some kind of an underground, not the deep tunnel, but, you know,
Right.
there's a lot of residents, got a lot of water, and it's gonna be expensive.
Thank you. We'll look into that.
Thank you.
I do want to say this flooding was just a perfect confluence of bad timing with leaves. You know, this is right in the middle of our leaf pickup, so we had inlets clogged all over. That doesn't explain all the flooding, but it does
No.
explain some of it, and of course, then we
Now,
had
that
the
doesn't really
deluge.
explain the origin of the water up in Highlands.
Yeah, we will look into
And
that.
also, if you look at all the sewage inlets, sewer inlets along Longmeadow where the water has to go, not one of them has any leaves in it. Go out there today.
Okay.
When that flood comes down there, it's 8 to 12 inches deep. It's gotta be going 20 miles an hour. There's not a leaf in sight. I can show you the line on our front lawn, how high the water got. No leaves, nothing, no mulch, nothing. It takes everything.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the board?
I'm gonna follow up with him. My name's Josh.
Good
Sutter.
evening.
Live at 5739 Ridgewood, so just
Thank
around
you.
the corner from.
Okay.
We moved in March. We've had 3 of these instances in our basement. 3 times since March, May 1st, July 1st, Saturday night. So I'm one of the ones that he's speaking of. It's not flooding water, it's sewage. So it's human feces coming up in my basement from my shower and my bath, or my toilet. Right next to my girls' playroom. Bedroom downstairs, laundry room, brand new house. 3 times. There's gotta be something. Speak of the leaf pickup, since Friday afternoon, nothing in the neighborhood. Still have it lined all over the road. Water couldn't even wash away some of the piles, but if you did look Saturday night, I couldn't get anywhere. I couldn't drive to the store to get anything because right around us was what he spoke of. Stuck.
Yeah.
There has to be something that is going on. It's really destroyed kind of our outlook so far.
Sure.
So, without getting too much into it, there needs to be something done. And that goes, I mean, all around our neighborhood. Walking up and down, thankfully I have good neighbors. That's why we moved. But it's really hard to kind of deal with. I had to miss the Bears
Absolutely.
game, thankfully.
Yeah.
That didn't,
There's your silver
yeah,
lining.
got lucky
Yeah.
not seeing that, but you know, working for 6 to 8 hours trying to pump stuff out on my own,
Sure.
couldn't even get any company.
Yeah.
It's not great, and when it's human feces coming out, flowing for over 2 hours,
Yeah.
it really affects you. So please.
Understandably, yeah, we will
something,
look into it.
And neighbor can kind of speak of, we're new
Right,
to it. My neighbor tried to explain that they did something in between, along the creek, in between two houses that share a driveway, and it was a brief, exchange while he was helping us, but that was completely not working. Whatever
Okay.
was supposed to be put in to work during high crest of water was completely up onto everything surrounding it, so it wasn't working. So whatever village employee came out to look at that and trudge through the water, I couldn't get to them to see what was happening. It wasn't working. So whatever was put in a few years ago, whenever that was, I can clearly state that it was not working properly. And that is a major problem and a very expensive problem for homeowners.
sure. Thank you. Did you have something you wanted to say?
I do have a concern about this also, because I'm hearing more and more issues about the Ridgewood flooding, and perhaps maybe we should have a meeting with the Ridgewood residents on this whole issue and find out exactly what streets and homes and everything, and see where we can, and Matt, maybe you want
If you
to,
guys are from after public comment here, I'll get you guys my business card. I could like to follow up with you guys on the specific issues. I don't know if I've talked to any of you. I know I've talked to Mr. Wheelahan in the past, but I don't know if I've talked to any of you other folks prior to this. So, well, we can definitely follow up on some of these items.
I'll be very brief. 5621 Ridgewood Drive, we were among the fortunate who didn't take it, but since we've been
I'm
there
sorry,
in
may we have your
15
name?
Oh, Kate Cutcom.
Thank you.
Since we've been there in 15, it's been as bad as we've seen it, so
Mm.
I concur with sort of the historic nature of it. Oh. Sure. There you go. Okay. As bad as we've had it since 15, did not take water, but the fix that is just south of Park, that is supposed to go into Flag Creek, that wasn't taking water. It's almost as if it's built a little too high, and I don't come at this from a civil perspective, so please indulge me here for a minute. And the other, so I'd ask please for folks to look into that piece of it, that stopgap that's supposed to get the water down. We're the lowest point in the neighborhood, so we get it. The second thing is the leaves just in the town that were prone to flooding, as I understand it overall. It's a real safety issue driving around at night with big piles of leaves, taking away the fact that we get waters and standing waters. So I know that would be a very probably politically charged issue to reconsider how we do fall refuse, because I'm sure it's a service that a lot of people appreciate. But again, not coming at it from a civil perspective, but I gotta imagine it makes it all the much harder this time of year. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Good evening. Hi.
I'm Matthew Kelly. I live on the 5400 block of Franklin Avenue in Springdale. And I'd like to remind all the trustees that there was a study done a few years back of both the Ridgewood area as well as the 5400 Franklin. I was there when Matt presented the findings of that report, and he might remember one very unhappy person who challenged him on basic engineering. That I think that report showed a complete lack of being designed properly, being executed properly, and the results being presented properly. The consultant, as well as the members of the Western Springs staff, had no idea of the area that the water came from that drained to 5400 Franklin. There's one drain in 5400 Franklin. It's pulling from an excessively large area. So this is a problem with the design of the roads in Western Springs and how that water flows. That last report that was done was, in my view, completely incompetent in understanding the problem and understanding possible solutions. So I asked that the board put forth the money to have a new report done, and perhaps not just have an outside consultant, but having a supervisor other than our current staff oversee that report so that we get a better result with a focus on solutions rather than saying this drain is the size of drains in other places don't have problems. That's not the right attitude. So without getting into too much detail, you're going to hear a very passionate person after me about 5400 Franklin. But to give you some ideas of the lack of the knowledge of both the consultants and the staff of where the water is coming from, water comes from Caroline Avenue through the yards into Franklin. Howard, south of Franklin, flows north. Howard, north of Franklin, flows south. 54th Street flows west from the Highlands. And there's a monster culvert that was put in when the new homes were put in the Highlands, LaGrange Highlands, that then fills up and flows directly down 54th Street into Western Springs. So if we're gonna build a wall, let's build big wall right there. Doesn't have to be very long, because it's within the unincorporated Cook County that we call LaGrange Highlands. I don't know what the rules are, but they built a monster culvert that drains the water and pipes it into Springdale, that then 100% of that water ends up at 5400 Franklin. So we have stuff coming from outside the village. We have stuff coming from far too many streets because of the angle of the streets that were designed by the village, in my view, improperly designed by the village to cause the problem at 5400. And you're gonna hear some more stories. You know, 18 inches is bad. We had 4 to 5 feet of water in Franklin Avenue. And I have photographs of some of the village employees more than waist deep in that water. I also saw a food delivery person walk through that deep water to deliver food to someone's house, which I was quite amazed at. So it was dangerous. It's not tens of thousands of dollars of damage that's happened on that block. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars of damage to those homes. I've lived in southern Springdale for over 20 years. I've had both my homes flood at different times. I lived in different homes at different times. One flood was an unusual, boy, that's a really bad storm, it happens, right? I can live with that. 5400 Franklin, the streets are designed improperly. The village does not have an adequate knowledge of where the water's coming from or how the water's flowing out. And so I asked that a new report being done, and let's take a bigger view of this problem. I'm not totally familiar with Ridgewood, other than I have many friends who live down there and have been victims of the flooding down there. But that those two areas were already investigated and have a report on them. I think this time we need to do it for real and come up with real solutions to the problems. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. I'm Christopher Kell. I'm the poor soul that lives at 5400 Franklin Avenue. Exactly. So as Matt mentioned, my neighbor, we had for a good, it seemed like 4 hours, water that went in the middle of the street right in front of the house, up to basically here on me. I'm about 6 feet tall. Wish I could say I'm 6 feet, I think I'm 5'11". But anyway, came up to right about here, and it was there for a long time. So the water was coming up all the way up my driveway, right to the house. Flooded the garage. My car will probably be totaled. A neighbor's car that was stuck in the middle of the street because she didn't see it because it was dark, drove into it. Her car's totaled. I'll have somewhere between $75,000 to $90,000 of damage to my basement. New HVACs, new furnace, water boilers, all that stuff. And the interesting thing was when the village, we called 911, my wife was scared. We had 2 people down the street who had been in their house for the last, what was kind of called a 100-year storm back in, I think, 2014. So it's happened pretty recently. She started having panic attacks because she remembered the last time, and it just really started to scare her. So we've got a lot of people really suffering from, I think, this water. When the village showed up, we were kind of half expecting them to drop a few really good industrial strength pumps out and maybe start leading Lake Springdale out up the street into some other drains, and nothing like that happened. And I've talked to some other people in neighboring towns like Hinsdale, where the municipality will come with these hoses and these machines and start pumping water out of places that are really starting to scare people. not just because of damage to their homes, but we have a bedroom in our basement that's now ruined. If somebody had been in there sleeping for some reason, I mean, somebody could have gotten really hurt. So we had, I think, at the peak, 3.5 feet in the basement. So we're ripping out drywall and have to basically redo the whole thing. So if we, Matt's absolutely correct in terms of having to figure out how to fix it so that our water can drain, even though we know we're in a low point. I've heard people who have talked to the village in years past, and people within the municipality basically just say, look, your houses probably should not have been built in this part of Springdale when they were back in the 50s. But the reality is they're there. And, there's families living in them. It's, causing a lot of damage. But if, in the meantime, while we're trying to figure out a way to figure out where the water is coming from and how to flow it out, if there's a way to get the village to at least be able to pick a path one way and a path another way, so we know it's laking in that one area, and start to pump some of the water out, if for no other reason than just to give us a little bit more time for our sub pumps to stay kind of on track and keep pumping it out. It'll probably just save a lot of houses a lot of money. It was a really, really scary Saturday night, so I'm really hoping you guys can do something about it.
Absolutely, thank you. Anyone else? Well, we will get together with staff and we will address this issue. We certainly can't have this going forward, and we'll look for solutions so that people aren't dealing with water that's 4, 5, 6 feet high. So, thank you very much for your time and coming out, and we'll keep you posted. Matt, I think you said that you'll be reaching out to people as well. So we will address this and we will get back to you. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Is there anyone else tonight who wishes to address the board? Good evening.
Good evening. Jerry Olszewski on Western Avenue, right near the pedestrian overpass.
Yes.
Talking with my neighbors that back up to that, they're very concerned about it. They were supposed to be here tonight. I guess they didn't make it. Concern, of course, is the switchback that is 200 feet each way from the center of the bridge right now. That's being proposed. The elevation that's going to be basically on top of the berm, and it's going to be looking into the neighbors' homes on their second floor. And it's also going to cause more noise to come our way, because obviously that's taller than the new walls that they're going to be putting up, unless they put them up near the berm and go above that. Also, wanted to know if you had any information about when the Tollway Commission is coming back pertaining to the bridge. More information?
The tollway planners?
Yes.
Ingrid, do you have information on that?
The survey that is now online, they plan to end that at the end of this week, and then once that information is compiled, they will be contacting us and telling us the results of that.
Yeah, I happened to talk to a couple of people that were on the engineering team that were doing the survey over there last week, and I asked them if they were doing it also on 47th Street, and they said no, just this location. So does that mean the other location is not being considered at all?
No, that is being considered. There's a sign at the 47th Street Bridge also. If you go down there, this exact same sign is right there.
Thank you. Yeah, right now the survey is still open. I think that closes on Friday, and then the tollway will tabulate the results, and they'll be back in again with those results. And thank you. Anybody else? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to our regular agenda items. First on the list is consideration of an action on agenda items explaining the omnibus voting procedure. Illinois state statutes allow a municipality to collectively vote on a group of ordinances, resolutions, and other motions such as awards of contract, appointments, etc. This is known as an omnibus vote. All the items contained on the omnibus vote list have been previously discussed by the President and Board of Trustees on at least one occasion and often on several occasions. By placing them on the omnibus vote list, a single vote may be taken to approve them. A trustee may remove any item from the list and have it discussed and voted on separately prior to the omnibus vote. Is there any such request this evening? Hearing none, Trustee Terrell.
I found this on the web.
Oh, okay.
President Gallagher, I move the following ordinances, resolutions, and motions as contained on the meeting agenda for October 28th, 2019 be adopted and/or approved under an omnibus vote. Agenda item number 1, approval of the meeting minutes of September 23rd and 26th and October 14th, 2019 as read. Agenda item number 2, ordinance 19-2976, amending Title 4, Liquor Control of the Western Springs Municipal Code relative to the number of Class B full-service restaurant with a patron bar liquor licenses which can be issued in the Village of Western Springs, Cook County, Illinois. Applicant, Guac and Tacos, LLC, doing business as Guac and Tacos for Unit 104 and the 800 Hillgrove Avenue building located at 800 Hillgrove Avenue, Western Springs, Illinois. Agenda item number 3, ordinance 19-2977, amending Title 4, Liquor Control of the Western Springs Municipal Code relative to the number of Class H outdoor liquor cafe liquor licenses which can be issued in the Village of Western Springs, Cook County, Illinois. Applicant, Guac and Tacos, LLC, doing business as Guac and Tacos for the outdoor liquor cafe area adjacent to Unit 104 in the 800 Hillgrove Avenue building located at 800 Hillgrove Avenue, Western Springs, Illinois. Agenda item number 4, resolution 19-2509, approving and authorizing the execution of a professional services agreement between the Village of Western Springs and Baxter and Woodman, Inc., for professional engineering services for performance of design engineering services related to the Clausen Avenue roadway and water main improvement project. Agenda item number 5, resolution 19-2510, approving and authorizing the execution of a professional services agreement between the Village of Western Springs and H.R. Green, Inc., for professional engineering services for performance of Phase 2 and Phase 3 engineering services related to the Prospect Avenue reconstruction project. Agenda item number 6, resolution 19-2511, approving the regular meeting schedule for the 2020 calendar year of the President and Board of Trustees of the Village of Western Springs. Agenda item number 7, motion to authorize and approve payment of costs associated with the well number 3 rehabilitation to Suez Water Well Solutions of Elborn, Illinois, in the amount of $138,124. Agenda number 8, motion to approve a temporary use permit for an outdoor liquor cafe, Guac and Tacos, LLC, doing business as Guac and Tacos, for outdoor liquor cafe area adjacent to Unit 104 in the 800 Hillgrove Avenue building located at 800 Hillgrove Avenue, Western Springs, Illinois. Agenda item number 9, motion to approve a license agreement for a temporary use of a public right-of-way relative to the operation of an outdoor liquor cafe, Guac and Tacos, LLC, doing business as Guac and Tacos, for outdoor liquor cafe area adjacent to Unit 104 in the 800 Hillgrove Avenue building located at 800 Hillgrove Avenue, Western Springs, Illinois.
Thank you. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Clerk Horvath, may we have the roll call vote, please?
Yes, Madam President. Trustee Terrell.
Aye.
Trustee Sifferman.
Aye.
Trustee Rudolph.
Aye.
Trustee John.
Aye.
Trustee Fink.
Aye.
Trustee Chen.
Aye.
And President Gallagher.
Aye.
Motion's passed.
Thank you. Moving on to our reports. First up is monthly financial report. Trustee Rudolph.
Thank you, President Gallagher. For our September month-end close, I'd like to just bring the following points to everyone's attention. First, the Police Pension Fund posted slightly positive results with unrealized gains of about 0.5%, and we right now have a trailing 12-month return of 3.38%. The general fund ended the quarter with a surplus. Sales taxes received were flat, which is continuing the trend that we have been experiencing. Year-to-date receipts are 1.93% lower than last year, which is a slight improvement over last month. Fines, interest income, and permits continue to exceed our projections, and our expenditures continue to be on target. Finally, the water and sewer fund consumption billed in September, so that would be for August consumption, was 7% lower than 2018, and to date is continuing about 8% lower than 2018 for year-to-date. Any questions? If not, I'll make a motion to accept the September financial reports.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'd second that motion.
Thank you. Clerk Horvath, may we have a roll call vote?
Certainly, Madam President. Trustee Rudolph.
Aye.
Trustee John.
Aye.
Trustee Fink.
Aye.
Trustee Chen.
Aye.
Trustee Sifferman.
Aye.
And Trustee Terrell.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Moving on to my report, I'd like to mention that last week I wrote a letter to the sponsors of the 5G legislation down in Springfield. That legislation is known as the Small Wireless Facility Act, asking for any information they have regarding the safety of small cell towers when they are placed in residential communities, especially in this kind of scenario where we're expecting more than one company to want to place these small cell wireless facilities here. Of course, I haven't received any response yet, but we just sent the letter, so I will keep you posted if we hear more. I'm also thinking about sending letters to our federal representatives too, because the federal regulations also limit our control in what we can do with regard to public safety. So the letter to the state legislators also asked them to amend the act so that we can take back some control over the placement and the number of these small cell facilities. Today, I had the pleasure to attend Congressman Lipinski's Senior Citizen of the Year breakfast. We honored Janine Jessica. She is our former clerk. She spent more than 30 years here as our clerk. Before that, she was a trustee with the village and one of the first women trustees on the village board. She also was on the library board, and she has always been very active in the League of Women Voters. So just an incredible woman, and it was my honor to be there and celebrate her today. And despite the flooding that some of our residents have, I do want to take a moment to thank our Public Works personnel for their hard work late into the night on Saturday to clear our clogged inlets of leaves and to allow that torrential downpour to flow as efficiently as it can. Really appreciate their efforts. Just a few dates coming up. On November 2nd, Saturday, we have the Pumpkin Smash. It's our first ever Pumpkin Smash. It'll be held in conjunction with the monthly styrofoam collection service at the rec department this Saturday in the morning. So please bring your pumpkins that don't have any decorations on them. They can't really compost them if they have felt, but please bring them. We'll smash them up and we'll compost them, and it's good for the environment. And then I'd like to wish everyone a happy Halloween. It's a very special time in our village for our young set, our young residents, and I ask that you pay particular attention as you're driving around the neighborhood. Keep a close lookout for our little ghouls and goblins that evening. Thank you. That concludes my report. Village Manager Velkme.
Thank you, President Gallagher. I'd also like to remind our residents that trick-or-treating is from 3 to 8 p.m., so please make sure that you're careful on the streets at that time. Also, at the next meeting, we will be presenting the draft budget, so we will have that document before you on the 11th. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Village Attorney Jerusik.
I do have a report for closed session to deal with a pending litigation matter, so if we could recess at the end of this for a brief period, that'd be appreciated.
Okay. May I have a motion to move to closed session?
I'd have that motion to close session.
For the purpose of discussing pending litigation pursuant to Section 2C11 of the Open Meetings Act.
That'd be my motion.
Thank you.
second.
Okay, roll call vote. May we have a roll call vote, please, Clerk Horvath?
Certainly, Madam President. Trustee Chen,
Aye.
Trustee Fink,
Aye.
Trustee John,
Aye.
Trustee Rudolph,
Aye.
Trustee Sifferman.
Aye.
Trustee Terrell.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now in closed session. We will come back to the open session after that point, but only to adjourn the meeting. There will be no other substantive issues discussed at that time. Thank you and good evening.